Do you ever wonder how successful entrepreneurs built their businesses from scratch? Are you unsure if starting a business is for you? Well, tune in as we discuss how successful entrepreneurs transformed their ideas into reality. Welcome back to From Zero to Revenue with your host, Chris Yap.
Welcome to the show. This is Chris Yap, your host for From Zero to Revenue. Man, I'm super excited, super honored to have our guest here today. My friend, the reason for my best health ever since I was probably like 10 years old.
Appreciate that.
And, you know, guys, please welcome co-founder of Ethos Integrative Medicine, Dr. Matt Hernandez. Man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. I'm really excited to have you here. You know, before I say my experience, I'm going to let you just kind of tell our audience a little background about you and Ethos.
Yeah, no, happy to. What do you call it? So, how far back do I need to go here? Let's go. I'm sure you'll ask me some questions about like earlier stuff like that. So I'll go with the beginning of Ethos, which is so part of me wanting to go into the profession that I chose was a combination of a few different stories. So in undergrad, I was initially going and I wanted to go. Was going through undergrad to go into pharmacy school, and so wanted to be a pharmacist. I thought it'd be cool to go in, compound different medications, kind of learn about like how one little pill can really impact the body. I was really fascinated with that, and throughout my process of my undergrad, I was always someone that like wanted to kind of go the extra mile of like, okay, let me go shadow pharmacist and do things that other students weren't doing, so I can really make sure like this is what I want to do. And in one of my I was shadowing this pharmacist. His name is Niche, and one of the things that I asked him, like me and him developed a good relationship, and he was a mentor for me. And one of the questions I asked him was, hey, you've been doing this for X amount of years. Can you tell me like what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And he was like, well, the job security and the pays really well, is good. Like, I'm happy with that. And he was like, but frankly, if I had to be honest with you, like, I don't ever see patients get better. And he was like, they come in and sure, they take medication and stuff like that, but like they need the medication in order to get some sort of relief. And he was like, but no one actually gets fixed. And I was like, oh. And so that really stuck with me. And then down the road, I went and a few weeks later after that, I learned about naturopathic medicine and through a project that I was doing. And the project was for a chemistry course that I was doing. And what I decided to do a project on was I wanted to see the effects of the chemical compounds in garlic and what it did to impact the body.
Wow.
And so throughout that process, I ended up coming across the profession that I chose, and I was like, this is way cooler than pharmacy. So let me go down this route. And so, went through med school, in med school, first year in med school, I met my now wife, Alex. Mm-hmm. And so, we graduated together, and then we ended up starting Ethos, and the whole goal, we knew we wanted to start our own thing, and the whole goal was, how can we provide a standard of care that we thought was missing in the world, and so that's what we wanted to do.
Which is amazing. So I've been your patient for I think about over a year now. Mm-hmm. And what I really love about Ethos is that it's not about seeing a doctor because you're broken and you need to be fixed, but it's about optimizing, which I think was the game changer for me, as an entrepreneur. And I know a lot of your patients are also entrepreneur. I saw a few EO members there during my visit, so
for sure.
I know.
Yeah.
What I love about it is it's the concept of you're going to see a health coach, a doctor,
Mm.
not because you're broken, but you just want to be better,
Correct.
to optimize your health, whether it's mentally, emotionally. Like when we first met,
Mhm.
and then had my first visit at your clinic, dude, I was probably like 25 pounds heavier.
Right. Yeah. You look good now.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of stuff that I already know,
Yeah.
but I couldn't connect to how to implement, and I guess, what doing those would mean as far as being optimized, how we function, how we think, and how we feel. But that's what you guys did. And perfect example of that, when I did my first lab test with you guys,
Mm.
there's a lot of stuff in there that's not usually tested,
Correct.
like my insulin level, my testosterone. Like, because of that, we were able to figure out why I'm not losing weight, because I've been, even all these different methods is because, we found out my insulin level was just so high.
Yeah.
So because of that, you guys kind of came up with a plan to adjust that. And when I was able to address that, holy cow, everything kind of followed.
For sure.
So I kind of answered my next question. But, to your words, w- obviously you have a lot of competition in the valley,
Yeah.
right? Especially in Scottsdale. What's making your patients choose you over other medical offices?
Yeah, great question. So, I think first and foremost, like you said, when you're going into this type of healthcare as a patient yourself, it goes, the relationship that you have with your doctor goes from the doctor telling you what to do to make you feel better, which is like in the sick care model. So it's like, hey, I have the flu, send me this medication, or can I
Yeah.
get this medication, whatever it is. Take this. I have high blood pressure, take this. So in that relationship is very one-sided. It's the patient, or the patient either saying they have a problem and the doctor solving it, or saying this is what you have to do, or the doctor just kind of being a dictator of like, this is the only way to do it. When you start to look at optimization, and you, for all intensive purposes, the people that we're seeing are healthy, but again, they want to get better,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That like by standard average American values, they're healthy, but we want to go beyond that.
Yeah.
How do we optimize? So the relationship becomes very different between the doctor and the patient at that point. At least what we found, and that relationship is more of a what do you call it? More of working as a team and saying, okay, Chris, what are the goals that you're wanting to have? Is it that you need more energy to be more productive at work? Is it you need more energy to be productive in the afternoon with your kids? Are you wanting to stay around a long time for your grandkids? Like, what does that look like? What are the priorities? What do you want to do physically down the road? All that stuff. And having that conversation, asking those questions for us already changes the conversation and the dynamic in the relationship. And it's more of a, okay, let's work together to get you to this place. And so I would say that that's first and foremost, is the people that, what one of the big distinguishing factors for us is the relationships that we build with our patients.
I totally agree with that, by the way.
I appreciate that. And it's important that that's the backbone of our care, because ultimately, as a doctor, I want to go in like knowing your goals and the conversations and knowing about our patients' personal lives and all that stuff. It allows me to invest in them more, and so that it makes the wins that they experience that much better, because it's just like, oh man, like I know the impact that had for them and their, like, in their family, in their work, whatever it is. And that's that investment as a doctor is like the coolest thing. It's the best part of my job.
Yeah.
Is that piece. Like,
No, absolutely. And what I love about the overall experience, since, and I think your key differentiator really is the relationship. Like when during my first visit, it was already different because I didn't feel like I was rushed. Number one, I
Yeah.
really felt like the doctor who was talking to me, he was fully invested. Like there was genuine care,
Yeah.
more than just a job. Like, man, this guy is really trying to find out, like, what are my goals? How can really get there? I think our first meeting was like an hour,
Yeah.
which is unheard of. Um, Usually, when I'm seeing my doctor, aside from me waiting for like an hour, despite the scheduled time,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'm only sitting there like maybe 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and then just rushing, just typing through.
Right.
But in my experience with your office, like every time I'm there, it's like they're excited to see me there.
Yeah.
Which is, it's incredible. So I mean, I could be your salesman here, man. But no, I think what you guys are doing, because when I met you, this is the first time I've heard of such model. So I think the relationship definitely is one, and then the fact that you're focused really on optimizing
Yeah.
versus just kind of fixing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we've had several. I've had several visits in your office where I got sick,
Yeah.
which is amazing because, like, literally within the day, I could get an appointment at least through the telehealth.
Yep.
And if I need to be seen, I could just go, and then you have a text messaging, you have, phone system, email, you have a portal. It's amazing how you guys kind of change the overall kind of patient provider experience, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and then I think the other differentiator that's really important for us outside of the patient relationship piece is, when in medicine and what we see, and kind of what you said with other clinics here in the Valley and that are popping up throughout the U.S., a lot of them really focus on what the big like buzzwords are in health at that time. So this could be anywhere from, or anything from, like the latest craze right now is like Ozempic or semaglutide, tirzepatide. So that's one thing. Peptide therapy is another one that's popping up. A few years ago, stem cell therapy was big, and so there's looking at all those things, and with us, while we use all those different treatments, the thing that we're really good at is the strategy behind how to get to the goals that the patient wants. So like if you sit down, you tell me the goals of like, hey, these are the wins that I want to see in the next year. It's our job, we believe, to go and have 5 different ways to get there. Not just you want weight loss? Semaglutide. Like it's a single thing, and that stuff, and it's whatever, the big crazes at the time. We've really positioned ourselves to be really good at strategy, and so knowing the strategy, it's like, okay, there's multiple ways to get to this goal, and it's not, and we know how to do them all, or if we don't know how to do it, then we know someone that does. And I like that, because there's going to be some people that don't want to go a medication route. Maybe they want to go more natural, or others don't want to go natural. They want to go medication. So our job is like, I don't really care what we use. It's about, did we get the goal the way the patient wanted it?
Right.
And that strategy for us is really important, because it allows us to have flexibility with being able to help patients in what we think is the best way possible.
So you obviously are very passionate in, serving your patients, serving humanity in general, right? Like, you saw it at an early age where, you thought of becoming a pharmacist, but then you realize there's a better route to serve people. That's kind of what I'm getting. Is you have this like deep passion just to serve and to make people better. What prompted that? Where did that? What inspired that? Where did that come from?
Yeah, great question. A lot of it, my parents are both key, people to who I've become in a very positive way. I have fantastic parents. Like, I love the two of them, and I've taken, I think, some of the best qualities that they each have to offer, and kind of created them to be my own. And I think they were able to instill those in me very well. And so the passion behind going and what do you call it, like the want to help people, that came from both of them. Like both my parents were involved either monetarily or through like physical acts of service with charity and stuff like that.
Yep.
And just wanting to do good in the world, and like like wanting to do that to the most, to that ability, I think was really important. And I learned that. And then the other one, the other value that I would say is my number one value is freedom. And for me, freedom, a lot of people think of freedom as like, unlimited time, unlimited money, stuff like that. And yes, like I agree with that. The most important aspect of freedom for me is having options.
You're right.
And so, and that translates into like how we practice medicine as well. Is like, I'm never going to tell you this is the only way. It's like, here are all the options that we can try. And having that freedom of choice on that piece is really important to me. And so when we're looking at someone's health, it's like, okay, what if I understand that if I can keep someone healthy as long as possible, the opportunities and the options that they have in life are far greater than if their health was limited, right? So if there's someone that wants to retire, travel the world, like we can help them with that piece. If they want to, focus, go all in on, being an entrepreneur, focus on their company, all that stuff, and just like grow it as fast as much as they can, then that's an option they can choose. But ultimately, you can have all the time, all the money in the world. If you don't have your health, you have nothing, right?
100%.
And so that health for me, when I look at an individual, it's like, okay, that's the key component for them to be able to do whatever they want in life. And so knowing that, it's like, how many people can you help so that good can be done in the world?
So I love the fact that your why, like your purpose, is really, enabling humanity kind of pursue the freedom, their choice of what to do, knowing the fact that they can't do that unless they're healthy, which I totally believe in that. Like in my household with my wife and my kids, we say we have 3 buckets of wealth that we nurture: the wealth in health, relationship, and freedom.
Yeah, I like it.
But ultimately, you can't nurture the other two if you don't have health.
Correct.
Like there's so many people I know, entrepreneurs, who have all the money, all the toys. They can't travel, they can't enjoy them because they're not healthy.
Right.
A lot of, and obviously this is a combination of like just bad choices. Especially now, sure, there's information you can get online, which is kind of good and bad,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. For sure. There can be noise.
Exactly. But having someone like you, and I'm talking here personal experience, I don't have to, of course I can do my own research, but it's like I can text you guys, I can call you guys, even if I have a question, and I get a response within 24 hours. Which is like a game changer. It's like, I know there's AI now, but again, that there's a lot of noise in there as well. But with your health, you don't really want to just rely it. It's not a do-it-yourself thing.
Right.
Like that's why you went to school for it and whatnot. But I just love the fact that you're very well connected with your purpose, which why I'd say you're happy doing what you do, and why you guys are just killing it. And because obviously I've experienced it. Now, Matt, you basically have 2 professions here.
Yes. Yeah.
You're a doctor. So. You're also an entrepreneur because you have your own practice. how difficult is it for you to balance your roles as you grow your practice?
It's extremely difficult. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very difficult.
I mean, having one is extremely difficult already. So, what are you doing? How are you managing that?
So some of the things that have really helped me along the way with this. So just to give like some context. So there's being a doctor, right? And especially if my job would be a lot easier as a doctor if I took insurance and I did followed helped sick people, because then it's just like algorithms are built out for that, and insurance dictates that you have to follow those algorithms. So it's very cut and paste for every patient. On our side, so the reality of it on our actual practice is that we're private pay. So then private pay alone has its own challenge as the doctor side, because if a patient is going to pay cash to you, you need to deliver a better result than what they would get in the insurance world. And so otherwise there's no point in them paying you cash. Right. And so, there's no, like, everyone works hard for their money. Right. And so like there'd be no point, and like, there's no value there. If we can't get a result faster, better, anything like that, give other options that aren't available, then we go out of business from that standpoint.
Right.
And so staying up to date on knowledge, especially with this fast moving landscape of medicine, is difficult, but it has to be done at the end of the day, because that's how we go and stay ahead of everybody, and continue to provide that kind of value. And so that's difficult in itself. Patient care has its own difficulties. Yeah. That's getting a bit easier with technology. Like ask any doctor what the part they hate most about their job is. It's charting and like all the notes that go after the patient visit. That's annoying, but there's a lot of technology now that's helping with that. So that's nice. But that's the landscape of being a doctor on that side, is like, how do I get results? How do I give better results than insurance world? And how do I stay up to date on everything that we're doing? On the entrepreneur side, there's this other aspect of, okay, how do me as the doctor, I can do that and be a solo doctor, or Alex has the same standard as I do in medicine, where we can, it's easy for us to deliver because we hold ourselves to this standard, but we have to hold all our other doctors to this standard. And in this business that we're growing and that we're wanting to scale to a degree to help more people at the end of the day. And so, at the end, I don't come from a business background. Neither does Alex. We're both trained in medicine, and going into business, that's a whole nother skill that we had to develop. And ultimately, some of the things that have helped us are like, we don't have a fear of failure. While it sucks sometimes, and there's like, I definitely don't sleep some nights as the entrepreneur.
Yep.
Like if I don't sleep at night as an entrepreneur because there's something wrong with the business, or profit's not good, or whatever it is. And then I don't sleep at night as a doctor if a patient's not getting better, or I don't know what happened to them, or stuff like that. So it's like, there's many reasons for me to have issues with this.
That's why I was thinking. I mean, just this gotta be difficult, right? Yeah. Of course, you went to school for medicine, but for business, how did you learn like finance, marketing, customer care? Although and all the nuances, and well, not nuance, but the aspects of the business. Did you have to attend a seminar, learn? You have a mentor? What did you do to kind of address that, just to kind of feed yourself with knowledge? And obviously, that's also an ongoing education, just like with your medical practice. What did you do on that end?
Yeah. So for business, it's all the above, right? So I was a weird like kid. And like in middle school, all through high school, college, I read a lot of like leadership books and customer care books. So like I read like the Southwest Airlines, like, like book on how their customer service and all that. There's a book called If Disney Ran Your Hospital. I read that when I was in high school, I think.
Wow.
And it was all out of my own curiosity. And so the customer care, I feel like, came a bit more natural for me. While even though I read books and to kind of learn more about the process and the psychology behind some of it and stuff like that, that was helpful. Finance and marketing and operations and all that stuff. Operations, I have a bit of a mindset for, where like ultimately I'm wired as a problem solver, and so I kind of and my brain works in systems, and so if I use a framework, or if I can go and make a framework by reading a few different books or talking to a few different people, and then make something work in my head, and then from there I just start like plugging holes on that. So that part, that's how my brain's naturally wired. Finance and marketing, though, those are the two hardest ones for me. So marketing, there's been there's an author that's that most people probably know, Dan Kennedy, who's a famous marketer. Every book that he's written, I've read, and so and so I've looked at that and tried to understand the strategy behind marketing and all that stuff. And then I've done a mastermind in two masterminds in that realm as well. And then for the finance piece, that's something that honestly I've probably I'm still learning, but in the last 6 months I've gained a lot more knowledge in. Awesome. That's been a struggle for me, just because it's like I'm not an accountant. Up until a few months ago, I didn't know how to read a profit and loss. I didn't know how to and I look at it, and like a few years ago, I'd look at a profit and loss because I was like, I need to learn how to do this. And I look at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't really I'm seeing it, but like, what do I do with this information? I have no clue.
Right.
And it wasn't until this last year where we've been like banging our head against a wall, just because we have cash flow issues, right? Like, we're trying to grow the team. We're self-funding the growth, which is scary. And it's not going fast enough. And so we're banging our head against the wall trying to figure out how do we solve this problem. And all the entrepreneurs I talk to are like, well, just look at your P&L. And so I go and look at it, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm staring at the sheet. I don't know what I'm supposed to get from this, but like, so apparently this is the answer. And it, in sitting down, I was fortunate to have a few mentors in EO where I went and asked them, hey, look, I don't know how to read this at the end of the day. Can you sit down with me and help me understand it? And it was through doing that I realized what gaps I was missing in the P&L. And so the last few months, I've been working to solve and fill and fix it the way it's supposed to look. Like the grand scheme of the numbers was correct, but like when I was talking to them, one of the EO members that helped me was like, so the way you're supposed to look at a P&L, and his brain is very similar to mine. So he was like, the way you're supposed to look at a P&L is that if you increase revenue here, and you see an increase in expenses, does that make sense? And he started teaching me the relationships between the different line items. And I was like, oh, now I understand. That makes a lot more sense. Right. And so once I got that piece, then I was like, okay, so I need to basically go and look at restructuring some of this P&L and stuff. And that's been my journey for the last 6 months at this point. Awesome. And so mentorship has been super helpful. Some of the programs through EO has been helpful. Yeah, those are, and just not having the fear of like failure or feeling embarrassed. It's like, I think that's my other piece to it is like, I'll go and ask people for help. Yep. And I think some people might be embarrassed, like, what entrepreneur doesn't know how to read a P&L, right? Like, that's what they would say in their head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I could be embarrassed and let that get in the way, or
Yeah.
I could just suck it up and ask and learn it, right? Like at the end of the day, it's like to assume that I have the answers for everything is stupid. So like I need to just go in and find them.
And so what I love about what you're saying is the virtue of humility, right?
Yeah.
Which is not very common, especially among entrepreneurs and doctors.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Because there's a lot of ego there, but the fact that you're able to really be honest with yourself, like, I don't know how to read this, and I know I'm expected to know this, but I'm just gonna be vulnerable and ask help. That is, I think, a very important uh virtue to have, humility,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of business owners fail too because for the lack of it. And the opposite is too much ego. And I love the fact that you're recognizing that, and I love the fact too that you're able to reach out. I love our EO community.
Yeah,
I've,
very
I've
much
learned
so.
so much there. I was able to have meet my mentor, who's also helping me. So I love it. Um, have you ever been broke, Matt?
Yeah. Yeah. So when we started Ethos, I think each of our parents gave us about $5,000 to start our business.
Okay.
So we had about a total of 10 for us to start. And when we started, so we were just like, okay, let's pay for the LLC, let's do all the stuff, right, and get that going. We bought some furniture in the space that we were renting, and for the first month, and I remember we went and joined a networking group called BNI, and we joined it, and I was like, okay, it's going to cost me $800 a year for this, and that's essentially going to wipe out a good portion of my checking account. Like if like this better work, like, like I got to make this work.
Yeah.
And so we joined that, and for the first, I don't know, 1 or 2 months, like Alex was able to get a few patients in relatively quick within the first few weeks. But I mean, even then, it's like for us, a lot of patients at that time was like we got 10 people that month. It probably took me about 2 months before I saw anybody from my own accord, like people that came to the practice from what I was doing. And during that time, like what our day looked like was, I used to teach at the medical school. So like I graduated, and then they hired me to come in and teach biochemistry because that's what my undergrad was in, and I was very good at it. And so I taught biochemistry. So I'd go in the morning. Maybe I had a patient, maybe I didn't. If I didn't, I usually prepped for my lecture. Close to lunchtime, I'd go give my lecture, and then after that, I'd try to go to like some sort of networking event in the early afternoon.
Right.
And then from there, I would drive out here to Glendale to teach at a nursing school that I was teaching at as well.
Okay.
And that was a night school, night school. So that started at like 6, maybe 7, and I ended at like 10. And then from there, I went and drove for Amazon, delivering groceries from like 10:30 to probably like 1 a.m.
Wow.
And
I did not know that. That is so cool.
And so I did that for a while. I mean, it was a few months of doing that until we started gaining traction. And eventually I told Alex, I was like, okay, you're getting a lot more patients faster than I am, which is good. Women in general tend to be a little bit more proactive in their health.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, you're doing good. Let's have you stop teaching. She was teaching at both the medical school and the nursing school too. And I was like, not nursing school, just medical school. But I was like, let's have you stop teaching. Let's have you quit. Let's go all in. You're going to go in and grow your practice. And then when you're producing enough revenue to support to replace my teaching income, then I'll back out and then we can do that. And that's what we did.
That's
And so
amazing.
that worked out. But I mean, yeah, there's definitely times like the amount of overdraft fees I had starting out that sucked. Like
I know.
there was one time where so you had to go buy checks, right? Like because we had to pay our rent through checks and stuff like that. And when we were going and doing that, we eventually we're like, all right, we're gonna be writing checks for a while as long as we own a business, I think. So like, let's just go and buy like the bulk checks from Costco because they were really inexpensive to get a bunch. Yeah. And so we bought it, like we bought the checks with Ethos on them and all that stuff. And they got shipped over and they're in this box. And so it's this cardboard box that's like really flimsy and you have like 1,000 checks in it or something like that. I forgot how many checks they gave us. And I was like, this would be nice to like put in a binder. And so I went back onto the Costco website and I saw there was a specific binder they sold for those checks. The binder was $20. And I was like, yeah, no, we can't afford to do that right now. Like that's not like that's not like we're not going to waste our money on this.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, that was our beginnings. Like,
man, I love the grind, right? And again, that allowed you to be able to, just activate that grind because you have the humility.
right.
Like, you finished medical school, put all the hard work there, but you have this vision of making this work, so you'll do whatever it takes. That included driving for Amazon.
Yeah.
That's just powerful, man.
And I appreciate that. And yeah, it's like the easy thing to do. It's like, okay, I have a doctorate. I could probably get a job working at another clinic.
Yeah.
Short, like temporarily and stuff like that. But what I didn't want to do was go and work for somebody and then get comfortable there and then never pursue what I actually wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, it's not an option for me. Like I will, whatever grunt work I have to do, like Amazon, all that. So I'd rather do that than risk getting comfortable in another clinic that, like they could have paid me well. I could have been like, oh yeah, okay, well, let's just go this route instead. And it's, ultimately it wouldn't have been mine though.
So I love, so that's another major nugget there is just your commitment to your vision. You basically you were clear on what you want. Yeah. Like as far as, the lifestyle, it's not even just a lifestyle, probably the control and the ability to create your own. I mean, as we all entrepreneurs are so attracted to. So I love that. Now, Matt, before we continue, I just want to thank our sponsor for today's show, GapTech Global. If you guys are looking for a remote professional, accountant, customer service, virtual assistant, IT professionals, GapTech Global can provide this faster and at a more affordable rate. We've been working on
been super helpful for me. I know that much. Yeah.
And I think we're now considering helping you on the accounting side as well. So that's amazing. But going back to, this journey of entrepreneurship, right? What has entrepreneurship done for you and your family so far?
Last year was probably one of the most stressful years that we've gone through. And again, it has to do with cash flow, like self-funding growth. At the time, I think, or like, let me back up 2 years. We had a bunch of doctors that we were like, oh, we should hire, like a bunch of people came across the table for us to like look at. And we were like, let's hire a bunch of them because, like we had all the confidence in the world that we would be able to like fill their schedules and get them all that stuff. And we were wrong on that. And so like the growth was a lot slower than we expected. And so instead of like, cutting a limb, we wanted to stay true to our word and try to deliver on that. And so we put ourselves in debt and stuff like that trying to solve this problem. And last year we were feeling the effect of that. And you know, so with that, it's like it was very difficult, stressful, like a lot of sleepless nights on that one as a result of it. Yet that being said, um, even with that, it's like we went and if I had when we went back and counted, there was about 12 weeks out of the year last year that we were traveling. Some of the travel was vacation. Some of it, the majority of it was actually conferences, and it was conferences trying to like level up our team because we're like, okay, we need to, we've been stuck here from at least from our standard, we've been stuck here, and we need to go here. And so we did a bunch of conferences trying to like gain new knowledge and stuff like that, and and that was beneficial for us because it's knowledge that now we use here and we're getting better outcomes as a result of it. But we had 12 weeks off, and even during the vacation time we worked. We went to Switzerland. That was like our vacation. And we were in Switzerland for 2 weeks. The first week we were still doing some of the calls with patients, checking in on the team, project managing, all that stuff. And it was a lot. But at the end of the day, I look back and I'm like, I had 12 weeks where I was able to like travel, which was like awesome. Like, that's super cool. It's like, if we can just fix the cash flow piece. Hey man, I would like, it would have been a great year last year. Like, but I mean, it gives that freedom. Right. And when, Alex and I, we live here in Scottsdale, but we have no family here. It's like my parents are in Texas, hers are in Canada. Mm-hmm. And the reality of it is, for us to see them, we have to travel quite a bit throughout the year in order to like just see family.
Right.
And so having that ability to do that was something that we had set forth in the very beginning of like, okay, we know that we're going to have to travel to see family quite a bit. So we need to build our practice to allow that to happen. And that goes towards the freedom aspect that we talked about.
Right. No, I love it. So everyone who's been my guest, entrepreneurs who have been my guests here, that's exactly the reason why they're doing this. It's that freedom. Is it easy? Hell no.
Hell no. God no. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the global population of entrepreneurs who have overcome like the past 5 years, because most businesses fail in the first 5 years, right? There's less than 3%.
Yeah.
And now I know why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard.
It's definitely not easy. So with the challenges you've had so far, like especially on the business side, what advice do you have for people who are actually struggling, whether it's cash flow, not growing enough market reach wise? What advice do you have for them?
The thing that has helped me the most, and the thing that I continue to fall back on, I think it's having faith at the end of the day.
100%.
And like, I went to Catholic school pretty much my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I don't want to say I was ever disconnected from my faith, because I've always held that belief.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely didn't, like, there was several years where I wasn't like praying, I wasn't doing any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even now I'm not super great at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not consistent, but I notice that when I struggle with stuff mentally, like I'm having these sleepless nights, that kind of stuff, I tend to lean more towards that. And it's my mom that reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Is like, she's, she'll go and say, make sure you're praying, make sure you're doing all that. And having that, belief of like, okay, at the end of the day, like, especially for us, at the end of the day, a lot of our frustration and pain and hurt was self-inflicted. And so could you fix it? Yes. it's very easy to fix, right? Like you cut a bunch of expenses and problem solved. But there's this other thing in the back of my head where I go and tell myself, it's like, okay, this is back to your 3%. This is another point at which someone would have turned around. So just continue pushing forward.
Yep.
And have the faith that it'll work, and just continue to grind if you have to, and whatever it is. And that's like the things that have helped us, like it's been faith, it's grit, and it's for me the constant, like, there's no fear of failure at the end of the day. It's fail forward, right? And then the constant questioning of how can I continue to improve things. And I've had conversations with multiple people on like, hey, this is my position, this is what I do, or whatever it is. What am I seeing that, like, what do you see that I don't? And just constantly asking that question, and eventually, like, you start getting answers and getting an idea of how to advance to the next stage. And those have been the things that have helped me the most of really pulling out of that.
Man, I love that, because I share the same. That's, I mean, I didn't realize you actually went to Catholic school too. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten all the way to college, man.
Same here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And man, I had so many times. By the way, I love the fact that you pointed out that you were able to recognize specific parts of the journey where this could have been a point where others would have turned around, but you kept going.
Yeah.
And I think it's powerful to recognize those moments. And while you're saying that, I was looking at, man, that's a great way to put things into perspective, because I had a lot of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm so glad that I kept going. Yeah. But man, that is so powerful. I think, my last question for you is kind of related to your advice on what to do. But is there a specific quote or a mantra that you keep in mind when things get tough? Like me, my favorite quote is, all things are created twice. First in the mind, then in reality. That's by Stephen Covey. Do you have anything similar to that you can share?
I can't think of how I word it specifically, but ultimately what goes through my head when in these instances, like the single thought that goes through my head is, you have the tools and the ability you need to go and get through it. There are people that don't have that, and so you have no excuse to not figure it out. And that's like, it's like, okay, like if you look at, I'm very fortunate to have, like I said, great parents. I have a great family support system. My wife is my business partner, and I wouldn't recommend that for everybody, but it works for us. Like we complement each other really well. I'm fortunate to have a network of people that I can call and ask questions on and all that. And so it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you've been blessed with the tools and the people that you need in your life to be able to move on and solve it. So like, use it.
Just
like don't make excuses.
Right.
Like there's some people that don't have any of that, or don't have parts of that, right? And so it's like, I have no excuse to not figure it out.
Yeah, man, I love it. Before we started this episode, you asked me what has been my favorite episode so far.
Yeah,
I have to say this is my favorite episode so far.
I appreciate that.
This is insane. So for those who want to learn more about Ethos, learn more about you, or interested in just going to your medical office, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah. So our website, ethoscottsdale.com, is our best way to, to learn info about what we do. Our Instagram is Ethos Scottsdale, and then you can look me up on LinkedIn as well and Instagram, and yeah, I'll be there. I'll send you. I'll make sure they have the links for that.
Absolutely. Man, this has been an absolute blessing to have you in the show. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this is Chris Yap, your host for the show From Zero to Revenue, where we feature successful entrepreneurs around the world. Until next time.